Today I get the pleasure of welcoming back Jenny Grimes. She was here for Shades of Power. We're talking about book 2, Shades of Fire. So if you haven't watched the first one, I recommend that one first. Also, the book did just launch, so I also recommend, as always, read the book, then come listen to our conversation. You will have such a deeper appreciation and understanding of all the elements that we talk about. And as always, just like the greatest human soul, we had such a great conversation on, again, navigating why choose and how this is such a great introduction to that if you're curious about it, as well as dragons and navigating just different personalities and how different people come with different baggage. And I know I always say it, but it was a great conversation. Welcome to Busy Reading Romantasy, a video podcast that discusses books that merge elements of romance and fantasy while occasionally exploring other genres. We get to escape our world and dive deep into themes of good versus evil, power dynamics, and all of the delicious taboo topics. Curiosity and open-mindedness are a must. That being said, this is a podcast for mature audiences only and will contain spoilers. Your mental health matters, so be sure to check the trigger warnings of each book to decide if this is the right episode for you to listen to. Now, let's get into today's episode. Jenny, it's so great to see you again. How have you been? How have things been I know it's been a few months since we talked. Kind of catch me up. What's been going on in your world besides just another book coming out?
I was going to say, a lot of book stuff, actually. I think I've had a little bit of a whirlwind now that the kids are out of school. So I feel like between the book launch and their kind of busy lives, I think did May even happen? Was I present for May?
It's debatable.
I know. I mean, it just was a whirl. My son broke his arm.
So
goodness. Playing soccer, a freak thing. So it's been crazy, but so good. And I have definitely found the time to write, to plan fun next steps and things like that. And obviously get ready for the launch. So it's just been a lot, but none of it really bad. I mean, even my son breaking his arm, it's been amazing watching him be so strong, and his siblings rally for him, and he's already almost healed. So I mean, that feels like a whirlwind too. Where did that go?
Oh, good, yeah.
It's it happened, and now we're moving on.
Yeah,
life can slow down.
Yeah, but a beautiful way to look at it too, just to see to embrace. We can't change what happened, so how do we just make the most of it and celebrate the strengths?
I think it taught us a lot.
Yeah,
a whole lot.
Yeah,
especially me, because I've never broken a bone, and my husband's never broken a bone. So and this is my first child breaking a bone, obviously. Hopefully my last. It wasn't exactly fun, but no, it's amazing how there's some really cool stuff that comes from all of the stress and the craziness.
Gotcha. Yeah. Do you have anything planned for the summer, even author-wise or just general family stuff? Anything fun?
Well, I was actually just telling my Discord group that I'm so I have such this urge to start this sequel series that I have planned. And so I'm I know I'm going to be writing book 4 this summer, but I kind of think I'm going to be writing that as well. I think I'm going to be simultaneously writing two books, I think. So lots of writing this summer. And then my family and I are huge into traveling. We spend a lot of time in the Ozarks. We have a little bit of a lake condo situation. So we spend a lot of time on the lake, in the water, in the sun. I cannot wait. I feel like as I'm even saying that, I'm looking up at the sky right now going, come on, sun. We need it. And then we're going to take the kids camping to some really cool places. We're trying, I think, to get them to really like camping. So we're trying to cater to them a lot to reel them in.
No, that's how my dad does it. So my dad lives in Alaska, and if he could sleep outdoors every night, he absolutely would. So that's what he does. That's the one time we get I am almost 30 years old, and when I go to his house, I am a teenager with my little brother. We were just kids again. We get to pick out junk food to go camping. He'll
They
make
love.
margaritas. And I'm like, it gets me every time. I'm like, I love camping.
I
I
know.
genuinely do love camping, but it's nice. He cares so much about making it a fun time for us.
Well, it does kind of like you have to create the environment. I mean, the environment
Yeah.
can be great wherever
Yeah.
you're going,
Yeah.
but especially with kids, you kind of, even the big kids, you got to
Yeah.
kind of cater
Yeah.
it a little bit to, maximum enjoyment.
Exactly. I love being forced to be like off my phone too and just away from
Yeah.
technology. I think I've hit that point in my adult life where I'm like, yes, take me off the grid for a week.
It's almost a relief.
Yeah,
Like
it
when
really is.
when
Yeah,
something separates you from it. I totally agree.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, exciting stuff on the horizon then. And
Yes.
that's really cool. So I guess take me a little bit into going into writing. How has your writing process changed the further you've gotten into your author experience? And now, especially, like, are you intentionally going to be doing anything different if you end up planning and thinking about writing separate books at the same time?
I think that is probably a major personal choice.
Yeah.
Just like with reading, when people are able to read multiple books at the same time, I
Mhm.
think that they might be more open to writing because if they can just keep
Fair.
things
Yeah.
separate. And so I'm one of those people that am not happy unless I'm reading at least 2 or 3 things. I almost like reward myself as I go. I'm going to read a chapter of this. I'm going to read a chapter of this. Then I'm going to read. I mean, I'm very
Yep.
like, I don't know what that says about me. I'm very rewards based. And so
Same.
I stay motivated that way.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that could lend itself really well to writing. Like I'm going to read it. I'm going to write a chapter of this. I'm going to write a chapter of
Mhm.
that. And I really don't think that it would, like one would interfere with the other, or there's really a negative aspect to that.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I'm really in a moment, I would not switch to like another book to write. But
Right.
when you have so many ideas and you have so many characters telling you so many things,
Yeah.
it's like it's almost like I need to get it down.
Yeah.
So that's kind of when I say I have this major desire. It's like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to forget this stuff. And so the outline for book 4 is almost done
Ooh.
already. And so the first outline, so I do like a handwritten outline that is like
Okay.
absolute crazy chaos, and then I'll type it up and it will be this long, very detailed, very intense outline.
Gotcha.
So if I do that for book 4 and then I do it for this new book that I want to write, I have the outline there. It's not like I'm going to get confused or something, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it'll just be fun. And that's the thing about writing is I think I write best when it's fun and I
Yeah.
motivated and yeah. And man, am I motivated.
Yeah. No, that's great to compare it to just like reading two books at once. I do something similar. I don't switch back and forth as much. I feel like when I'm more motivated, I generally have like a more kind of self-help spiritual-ish book like that's maybe a little more like educational or something that I can
Yes.
maybe gain personally on top of my funny stuff, which I realized I think it's funny because I think I have it backwards where I display all of these ones and then like
Well, that's so
down
good.
behind me or like almost hidden are all my little like self self-help section.
That's so awesome though. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I love the beautiful curated bookshelves. And I mean, I am a
Yeah.
sucker for give me it pretty, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like I love an eclectic bookshelf too. Like I have a soft spot when
Yeah.
I see someone's bookshelf and I'm like, oh, look at that one there. Like I don't know. It's like looking into someone's soul. It's like
Yes.
I actually on my bookshelf I have like all of the book, the books, the popular books, the ones we all know, whatever.
Yeah.
And then we have some that are not quite so well known. And then I have a section of like my high school annotated um like Romeo and Juliet, To Kill a
Yeah.
Mockingbird, like
Yep.
these like
Yep.
random stuff. I just can't get rid of them. I love them so much.
No, that's fair. I kept my college psychology book and a couple of my like marketing and business books, and like I was like, well, I'll just keep those. Have
Why
not
not?
opened them once, but I have them.
I think one of my most prized possessions is my high school copy. And a lot of people don't know that I used to teach French. I was a French
Oh, okay,
teacher for
yeah,
like 9.5 years. So I I was obviously in love with the language when I was younger in high school. And so I actually have The Little Prince
yeah.
in French, but I thought I was being really cool when I was reading it. And I wrote my translation in it.
Uh-huh.
And then also in like the corners and stuff, like little things that we talked about in class and like whatever. I
Oh.
mean, this thing is like, it's like my brain on paper. And then I, of course, now like I will sometimes pick it up and flip through it. And I'm like, wow, these translations are really off.
Fair.
But I mean, it's a treasure. I think you
Yeah,
should keep it
yeah.
all.
No, it always interests me, and I completely agree with you too about like the aesthetic bookshelves. I love them.
Oh,
Or
I do.
the people who, I don't know, the people who categorize by color though, they stress me out. I it's nothing personal. I just, you can see the genre I read, so there's not much
Yeah,
color to begin
I
with.
know.
But I feel like mine genuinely are almost like chronological. So like I had
Yeah.
this bookshelf first. So like you can even see in the corner here, this is like Harry Potter,
Oh,
a
I
lot of
see
my
it.
like high school stuff,
Got a
and then it's
Twilight in
just
there.
grown from there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um Vampire Academy. That was like my series.
Aw.
Yeah. So it's, and then it's grown, and like this is all the new stuff, and then it grows more, and these are the books of everything I have to read.
Oh, I
But
I actually got a little shamed by my 8-year-old daughter the other day because I have a stack like
yeah,
this,
yeah,
and it's just in our living room. Because
yeah,
I keep thinking if it's in front of me, I'll see it. Maybe I'll
yeah.
pick one up. And she finally said, she goes, Mom, how come you never read the books you buy? It's like, oh, that one hurt a little.
It's a process.
I'm like, you don't see the audiobooks I'm pounding or my Kindle that I'm literally on all the time. I'm like,
Right.
but those beautiful books, they deserve to be read.
Yes.
And they
Oh,
will.
yes.
They will.
All in good time. All in
Yes.
good time. You can't force it.
Yeah.
But anyways, so the purpose, the main creme de la creme for why we're here today is to talk about book two, Shades of Fire. There's so much exciting things in here. So if you haven't seen our first episode where we talk about Shades of Power, that one is, you should check out that one first, and then come back here. Book two. So this is fully spoilers. We are not going to tiptoe around everything, anything. So pause, read the book first, and then come back and enjoy this. I just prefer a bit of a deeper conversation, where we can get into the kind of stuff. And I'm curious and just wanting to see why things were the way they were. And man, there was a lot in this one.
They were the way they were.
They were the way they were. So just to kind of start off and give a little refresher, I'd love to hear from your point of view, kind of where book one ended and where things are picking up at the start of book two.
Okay. Oh, I'm so excited. So so book one ends with this sort of conflict between um the shade realm and the color magic system driven fairies. This conflict between them and the night court, which is this court of vampiric dark fae. And the vampirism in this book is like a curse on them, and so they are also considered fae, but obviously they run on dark magic and no color. And so there was a lot of prejudice there. Opal is in a situation where now she has experienced a relationship or love with Ferris, who is the human fae now turned silver shade.
Mhm.
Did I just say human fae? I'm
Yes.
talk about a spoiler. No, the human turned Fae,
Yes.
who's a silver shade, and I can't believe I caught that, and the dark vampiric prince who is now the
Mhm.
king, Edmund, who also stole her heart. And so
Mhm.
I think a lot of people, when the book wrapped up, there's a very, very sad scene where Amira dies, her sister.
Mhm.
I mean, the people in her life that are dying are starting to just kind of rack up between her parents and her sister. And this kind of why choose situation is sort of evolving, but I kind of liked the idea of not spelling it out completely in that book, because
Mhm.
there were a lot of people that were like, wait, she chose Ferris, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, and there was a lot of people that saw the writing on the wall that, Edmund would be back. And Edmund did come back. He did in book in book 2. But
You
that's
did.
kind of where we end, is her sort of making this it kind of feels almost like a forced choice, because Edmund has so many responsibilities in the Shadowlands. They just don't seem like they're supposed to be together,
Mhm.
society wise. In their hearts they feel like they are, but to everyone else it kind of just seems like there's just no way.
Yeah.
And so then book 2 explores the way.
Indeed it does. Indeed it does. We will dive into the way. Yeah, so we get to the start of it, and basically that is kind of this preparation, as we know that Edmund will return. My Google autocorrect really likes Edwin, and it would fight me the whole time. So if I ever pause, it's my brain taking a moment.
If you
Um,
say Edwin, I'll know who you mean.
yeah, yeah, close enough. I can never forget. Anyways, he is returning, and there is a bit of tension. You notice Ferris is kind of getting more and more tense, and Opal is kind of stuck in the middle, and it's very clear she doesn't want to hurt either of them, and she is still. And I love her perspective through most of this, which is just like, I don't want to hurt you guys. And I also don't have the answers. Like we're trying to
Yeah,
figure this out.
which to me is so real.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense for her to just find like a confidence and an ease of like, oh, all of a sudden I'm just okay with like, she doesn't struggle to the point where I hope it's like, I don't want to say annoying, but do you know what I mean? Like
Oh,
she
yeah,
has
yeah.
like a
No.
good, in a way, like mature way of being like, I want to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do here. Like,
Right, right. And if anything, I think stuff just keeps getting thrown in the way. So it was kind of like, okay, just not right now, not right now, right, not right now. And then it was like, okay, right now.
yeah, it has to be now. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Um, and I love the scene where basically Ferris also, again, everyone's just kind of in a tough situation. Edmund will be staying the night, and basically Ferris is like, like, who would I be to keep you from what you also want? Do you want to give us a little insight into kind of that dynamic as he
Yeah,
lets her go, basically?
yeah. That felt so real to me from his perspective, because if I painted him as a character that is just so good natured and tries to always do the right thing, and tries to be empathetic and like tries not to be selfish. I mean, you're right. There was a lot of tension. He can't hide the fact that he's well, he's not really human anymore, but that he has,
Yeah.
the natural desire to want to keep what he has, like, and keep what he thinks is his. But he also had agreed with her, and kind of made the agreement in the first book that he would be open to sharing her. And so
Mhm.
I think that conversation is very powerful in the sense that he stays true to his character, and he says, you know it's not okay, but it's okay. And he kind of pushes her basically into Edmund's arms. I don't think that he knew what would come of that. I think he thought it was going to be like a one night thing, or like a satisfy a curiosity,
Yeah.
something like that.
Right.
And maybe that was like his own mental gymnastics kind of
Mhm.
thing, like I'm going to talk myself into this kind of thing.
Right.
But I just think that that was such a raw moment for the two of them, because I don't know if it was at that point or maybe it was later on in the book. I think it was later on in the book with like the scene with all three of them. And
Mhm.
she says something along the lines of, in her mind, she's like, we had not taken the time to really discuss what this looks like. We spent too much time enjoying each other. And that's what that conversation felt like. It was like,
Yeah.
oh crap. Like we got so wrapped up in like the peace and the opportunity
Mhm.
to like be together and his magic, and just the fact that she feels more confident as a fairy that kind of knows what her powers are. And so this just sort of caught up with them like really, really fast, and they had to make some quick decisions. And yeah, it kind of broke my heart a little bit for Ferris, but
Mhm.
it all worked out.
Indeed it does. We will come back to them in a second, but we also get the introduction of a new character. We have Nell coming into play, and especially I love Opal's thoughts as they're kind of meeting her, kind of waffling from, oh, I really don't like her at all. Oh, actually, I think I kind of like her. Mm, I don't know, like just kind of continually feeling her out.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me more about where Nell came from and kind of just creating her, basically.
I think, man, so many things. Like
I,
I I really love the character of Nell. I really wanted like a little super fan. Like I
yeah,
want, because a lot of these characters are meant to complement Opal.
yeah,
And she doesn't think always very highly of herself. So
right.
she's surrounded by people that keep telling her, you're strong, you're beautiful, you're desirable, you're meant to be here, kind of thing. And so Nell, like in certain extreme ways even, is doing that too. Like she wants to be a part of what these people are trying to accomplish. But I think that she's a good, like almost like little sidekick, like little buddy to just sort of, you know, normalize some of the things that are happening a little bit,
Yeah,
and like, and yeah, maybe for like a little comic relief, but also in doing so, I think she grounds Opal a little bit. And she's got like this little, I say little, she's not like young, she's not like a child, but like she's just got like this little buddy that keeps following them around
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever, and I think that that's really refreshing, probably for Opal, who's literally been in a dark place for a while.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree. She brought an energy, and it is kind of in the beginning when you're meeting someone new and you are being like, okay, this is different. What's the game here? And it was cool to learn about like why she initially was coming onto the guys and like her kind of background situation, and once everybody was able to kind of communicate that, and then she just continually over and over and over proved herself, and like you
Yeah.
said, was just like along for the ride and just wanted to participate and be there. And it adds a good energy, I think.
Well, and I like the overarching story of this whole series has a lot to do with the seam and the different factions and the different realms of different
Yeah.
characters. So she was sort of our real glimpse into what's going on with the wizards. And I think that that was also, I mean, it was really cool to see the wizarding realm like from her eyes, but like some of her up for anything type attitude stuff, and the way she looked at their magic and the way she viewed shades in general. Like, I think that that was kind of important to have,
Mhm.
um, because it really gave Opal a lot more to think about as far as like these relations between the realms. I mean, she was very like aware that some of her views on Nell were preconceived
Mhm.
before she even met her.
Mhm.
And so I don't know. I just think that's kind of interesting, especially as the story goes along, because in book 3, for example, we see a whole another species slash realm of
Ooh, okay.
this theme. It's the talking animals on Jovi's Isle. And it's interesting that in a place like the Seam, where like it's supposed to be this sort of paradise, magical haven for all the magical creatures, they don't really know each other that well. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't interact. It's like, is it really perfect because y'all are just staying separated all the time and doing your own thing and being isolated? Like, is that why
Right.
it's peaceful? Because as soon as they start to get, to know each other, there just seems to be conflict with the dragons, conflict with,
Yeah.
wherever. So I really liked Nell because she was a bridge to that realm. And I think she taught Opal a lot about just the way you approach, a new species or a new group of magical creatures. And so you see that in book 3 a little bit, how she tries to approach the new group of magical characters coming in, and how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah. And wasn't it so basically Edmund stays and they hold court, and I think when they're originally like hearing the problems, um they almost kind of like blow it off, and he was like, hang on, wait, did you not just learn what happened when you neglect kind of like relations in a sense, and getting
It
to know.
is.
Yeah.
I think I mean, you can look at that from a very surface level of just like meeting anybody,
Mm-hmm.
or you could look at it at a much deeper level. And as a society, is that the foot you want to put forward? So it's giving her a lot to think about for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Crash course into taking care of the realm, basically.
No, I seriously.
And then not soon after, we encounter the dragons. That was super exciting. And they get we kind of already see where it's going. Leyanna's going through some crazy stuff, and I'm like, it's happening. We're going to the dragons. And um same thing, chaos is happening. They kind of get their like little list of tasks. They need to clean the water, they need to get a new ash stone, they need to find this dragon. Kind of a whole bunch of stuff has
Poor
happened.
dragon.
And yeah, I know they need to help. What was some of the inspiration? Like, you knew you wanted to have dragons, and like, was there anything specific where you were just like, this is what I want?
I don't know where I got the idea from, like, this stone that they inhale and they are around it, and that's like their life
Yeah.
force basically. My 12-year-old son was actually he goes, "What are you doing, Mom?" And what are you working on? And I was like, I want the dragons to have this stone. And I kind of just said, but I need there to be like a high stakes problem with it. And it was actually, I think it was his idea to have it pollute the water. And then I was like, oh, I have so many more ideas now. And then I went back and I changed some things with the wizards and things like that. Like it just spiraled really, really fast. I just, I love dragons. Like, remember that movie Dragonheart? That was the name, right? Yeah, with Sean wasn't Sean Connery the voice of a dragon? I love a dragon with a personality.
Yeah.
And that was one of those. Not all dragons talk, right? And they don't
Mm-hmm.
all. Some take on more the personality of the writer they're with.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted these to like stand alone because
Okay.
haven't been around really anybody else, so it wouldn't make sense necessarily.
Yeah.
And so but I wanted them to have attitudes without being like not lovable. So
Yeah.
that was where I was like walking with that.
Yeah.
They are in book 3, not to the
Mm-hmm.
extent in book 2, but they're definitely
Fair.
there because how could we not? Can't just meet
Mm-hmm.
Jasper and Katie and then not see
Yeah.
them again. So, but no, I really wanted them to be somewhat accessible, not so like mythical that like you didn't connect with them.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like Plum kind of had that vibe a little bit more, where like she was so old and so rooted in tradition. Like she
Yeah.
was a little bit more like mythical in that respect.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun to write that. And some of my favorite, like the scene when they're walking into their like hive,
Mhm.
and Opal's having all of these feelings of pride, and like almost feeling a little bit like they've been taken it not taken yeah taken for granted a little bit, and
Yeah.
and she was kind of done being looked down on, and I love that. I love that for
Yeah.
all of them. I
Yeah.
was like writing that, like cheering her on. Yeah, you do it, girl. You do it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes, exactly. But
Yeah.
then, but then she like is like in awe of them too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that was some of my favorite things to write in that book. So thanks for
Yeah.
bringing that up.
No, absolutely. I think it's cool to walk that line too of just like being like, oh my gosh, and you can only imagine actually seeing dragons. It's
Right.
terrifying, and they seem to be very like old and wise and strong, and all those things. And um one thing I love, and I'm gonna pick on Fourth Wing for a second, because you get like Tirnanok and all these crazy names. And here we have Katie the Dragon. Where did where did that come from? I love it so much. That's my only note. Katie the
Oh,
Dragon question
oh
mark.
my God. Okay. So that was like a choice, right? I mean, who goes with
Yeah, it
the
was.
wind? um, so when I did not plan that, but when I was writing like the first couple of scenes with the dragons, and I'm like, ooh, like I really want to talk about the power within a name. She's gonna get to name
Mhm.
it. That's gonna be really cool. I'd come up with Jasper. Um, I also in general with fantasy, I want the names to be somewhat readable, just personally. I will say in book 3, there's a character that I tried to not have him have this name, but like it got stuck in my head. I even highlighted it because I was just going to go back when I was done and just say, change all these to something else.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it out of my head. So I'm saying this, but then I'm thinking about book 3 and I'm like, I'm sorry about that one. But in general, with the names for the dragons, I was like, okay, what is this name going to be? And I remember I was doing like a reread of book 1,
Mhm.
and the line where she says in book 1, like I think Drew's making fun of her and is like, "Ooh, Christopher, what a weird name. Ooh, Katie, what a weird name." And so she has that opportunity to
Yeah.
say, like, it's a perfectly awesome name for a dragon. Like, I thought that would be so funny. So
Yeah.
I cracked myself up. Like, I don't know if anybody else thinks it's funny, but I do. Like, I'm just having fun,
Yeah.
you know. Um, but in book 1, when I originally wrote that line with the weird names, I picked Katie because I knew a lot of not very nice Katies growing up. So I think I was like in a mood. I was in a
Oh,
mood when I
Katie.
wrote that. Yeah, like, oh, Katie, what a weird name. And then she goes ahead and names this dragon that. And I thought it just fit because
Oh
she's a little
man.
spicy. She's got a little bit of a chip on her shoulder. She reminds me of
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. Oh no,
So
that's amazing. Even better.
know. Well, and then like I've had more than one person be like, "I'm so glad you chose that name. That's my name." And I was like, "I'm so glad you love that name.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so nice."
There you go. There you go.
Oh my
No.
gosh, that's so funny. Wow, I'm telling all my secrets now.
I No, I love it, and I appreciate the name thing, and I'm excited to encounter said name in book 3.
Yeah.
And yeah, it happens.
It just he doesn't sound like anything else now. I did it
Yeah.
too often, and then it was just like it was over. I'm like, that's his name.
It's it. It's stuck. It's stuck. So we get kind of our quest items that we need to follow through. Um and as we're going along on the journey, we have a couple of the core group that head to back to the human realm because they have to get a new
Yes.
stone. Um, let's talk about chapter 22. It's time.
Oh.
So we've talked about it. I mean, we talked about it in the last interview as
Mhm.
well, of just kind of like you said, this we're in this gray area. Is it a why choose? Is it a love triangle? And then we get to the why choose part.
Why choose?
Yeah. Brilliant, beautiful. I was living for that chapter. I loved that chapter. We've talked about it before, just, kind of having three people who are completely new to this dynamic, but who have an interest in preserving people's feelings,
Yeah.
about people that they care about. And this is the first time where they're like, actually, we're going to talk about this, and then we're going to practice
And
this.
and who would have guessed it would have been Edmund, the
I
one that was like,
know.
"It needs to be discussed."
I
It
know.
needs to
Wow, really mature all
I know.
around.
I know.
Yeah, take me through some of what writing that chapter was for you.
Well, I whenever, like, I think of especially romance, but in general with, like,
Mhm.
certain types of writing, certain scenes and things like that, I'm a reader first. So I've read plenty of Why Choose. I
Mhm.
love big casts and lots of romance and lots of spice and all levels of spice and things like that. And so one thing that I don't dislike, but one thing I was really cognizant of is in so many Why Chooses, they don't really address the relationships between the other people that are going after whoever the main focus is, I guess.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do a little bit, sometimes obviously there's some where they obviously do. But in a lot of times it's just like everybody's just okay with it. That's just
Mhm.
what we're doing. This is the dynamic. We're all in this. We're all agreeing to it. And I love books like that. But this one, I don't know if it's just because I felt so close to the characters,
Mhm.
but I'm just like, Ferris is not going to just like he will go along with a lot, but it's not going to happen like that. And even Edmund, who gets
Mhm.
everything he wants, right?
Mhm.
He's not sold on Ferris,
Mhm.
until they were able to really air it out. And I don't think at that point, even Edmund says something like I know you love her.
Mhm.
Like no one's contesting that at that moment.
Right.
It wasn't like a you're not good for her or I'm
Right.
better. you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
actually the opposite. It was like I don't if she has to choose one of us, I just want her to be happy.
Mhm.
And the only way that she chooses both of us is if we are both okay with this. And so it was it was I loved writing that scene too. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just I felt very close to the characters in it. I felt like
Mhm.
I really, sometimes I create scenarios and then I'm like, "Ooh, I hope that's something Edmund would do."
Mhm.
Does that sound like him? I think that sounds like him. This was one of those ones where I was like, "Yep, this is how it would go."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
even when they they start joking with each other, like I'm like,
Mhm.
"This seems right." Like it can't be too heavy because neither of them, especially with Opal being so like she was almost silent during that because she was
Yeah.
just like, I don't want to do anything. Like, what's happening? Kind of
Right.
thing. I think
Right.
the two men talking and then eventually kind of just like being sort of obnoxious to one another. Like, it seemed real. Like, it seemed like
Yeah.
how it might go. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
No.
it was fun.
You bring up such a great point, because I even remember the one part where maybe they were kind of in the same area and like brush up against each other, so then one moves or something like that. And
Yeah.
it's just the little things like that that bring so much um to it. And I completely agree with you, as someone who reads mainly romantasy, and it's a lot of like devils and demons and really old beings that are so good at what they do and so perfect. There's not a lot of second guessing or kind of like a lack of experience. They're like, I got
Right.
you. And so
Yeah.
to be in the realness of that, of like, who this is new. Let's just
Yes.
go slowly navigate. We're aware of who's where, who's doing what, and to come together and create something beautiful. I think that really lends itself well. And like I said, I enjoyed it immensely.
It's a good payoff at the end, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I think one of my favorite lines in that was something about like there were no more battle lines drawn. Like there were
Mhm.
no more wars left to be fought here, like over her.
Yeah.
And I felt that like it was like that was the moment, like the precipice where they were like, okay, like we're doing
Yeah.
this. And I didn't want it to feel like a struggle throughout the entire thing. It
Right.
was a struggle to get there, but then once they got there, they got there.
Indeed. Indeed they did. Yeah. They fell into a pretty great rhythm naturally.
I think everybody was satisfied.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I haven't read a lot of Why Choose. That's something I'm not opposed to it by any means. I would like to experience more of it, but it takes me back to um from Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout, because
Okay.
she kind of gives this thing, it's called the joining, and it's basically where two mates and then the third comes into play. And I was like waiting for it, and it was like 3 or 4 books in, and we finally get it. But it I think I had built it up so much in my head that when I finally read it, um it kind of was a lot of like, there was just a mesh and you didn't know what was where. And I was like, I want to know what is
I
where.
know.
I want-
You're like, I'm invested.
yeah. No, absolutely. So, like I said, I think that was great. And I would definitely recommend this series as someone who is maybe hasn't read Why Choose and might be interested. And I think that's a very great introduction to the genre.
Thank
Um,
you. And I did like it was really hard marketing wise, book one, because I didn't just come out and say, this is a why choose book, because that's not really,
yeah. Yeah.
you didn't really
Yeah.
get that in book one. But then I was afraid, as I'm seeing, I mean, some reviews, people are like, I didn't realize this was a why choose. I don't know if this is my thing. But I
Yeah.
was kind of ready for that.
Yeah.
Because you want people to be prepared and know what they're getting. But
Mhm.
I agree with you and I appreciate that recommendation because you know, there isn't a whole lot out there of like, let's ease into this,
Ye
and um
yeah.
usually if you say like dark romance why choose, you know what you're getting,
Right. Right.
Um
Yeah.
and you definitely get it in these books.
Mhm.
It just is not quite so like, you know.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because I think a lot of times when it comes to marketing, like I'm so used to everyone has seen it, where you get the book and you get all the little tropes around it, and I'm
Yes.
like, that's great, and to an extent, can that ruin a surprise? Yeah, like sometimes as someone personally, and I know some people do prefer to be informed of what they're reading before they jump into it, and that's totally okay. I like to be surprised. I'm along for the ride. I'm committed. So that, like I said, you suspended belief enough where I was just kind of like, I'm not going to be mad if this happens. I
I
don't
was
know if
just
it
about to say that.
will.
That's so funny. I was about to say those exact words. Made it so, you wouldn't
Yeah.
be mad if it like
No,
went a certain
exactly.
way. Well, and then in my Discord in the early days, I was doing the thing where I was like telling our readers, are you team Edmund or team Ferris or team both? And a few people were like, is that an option?
That's it.
I'm like,
Yeah. Because if I can have both, I want both.
I think many people would.
Yeah. No, and then afterwards to see how their whole relationship changes and the whole dynamic changes. And I think as a reader, that also brings a sense of relief of like, yeah, it was kind of tense and you were like, oh God, like is Ferris gonna get really mad? What's gonna happen? Is someone gonna say something? And to like do the 180 where she wakes up and they're, chatting in the corner. It's again, it's just beautiful to see how that can be like navigated openly and honestly, and to have it like pay off, you know?
I love writing perfectly imperfect. That's
Yeah.
I love to, because they are not like, oh, and now we're great and we're best buddy. I mean, they're still just like jabbing each other left and right, but it seems so much more, kind and wholesome now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yes.
they didn't, their personalities didn't change. And
Right.
that's, that, because I've seen that too sometimes where you're like, oh, okay, like, wow, coming together, you're like a different person now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point as well. Yeah. Because it would be weird if like Edmund was all of a sudden this like sunshiny teddy bear, and I'd be like,
Yes,
what happened?
exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
yeah. Awesome. So that continues to progress. They get, the old stone that they need to, and they're kind of on this like part 3, which they head back to the land with all the dragons, and we get caught up with Leyanna, and they walk in on quite the scene. Poor Lennox, that's a whole thing. Um, let's like pause to just kind of catch up on Leyanna's journey as like becoming a writer, and then bringing Adian into the mix, and that dynamic.
A lot of people not too happy with me about that.
Oh, fair. Okay.
I mean, I think it's so interesting because I said this recently to someone, Lennox never had, starting off like book 1, even part of book 2, I didn't have this huge arc for him. Like I didn't, but it kind of came together really fast. So you're going to see him more in book 3. But, I don't want to say he was collateral damage, but in my mind, when I wrote him even in like the first book, he kind of felt that way. Like, I've got plans for you, Lennox. You might not like them, but they're coming. And so I think it was so interesting to see how many people read so deeply into him, even in that first book. People love Lennox. He's very likable, you know? And so that as a writer, it's such a powerful thing to, obviously you are trying your best to pull the really, really important, significant parts of a story out and putting them in a way where like, that's the focus. Right. But like the things people grasp onto and the surprises of characters that are like, I mean, there's like a Justice for Lennox group out there. Like,
Oh my
and
goodness.
to me, that just like warms my heart because
Yeah.
I mean, because I did create him, right? But like, it's just like, he's got all this attention and not for his intended purpose. And I love it.
Yeah.
um, but Leyanna's whole journey, I think one of the hardest things about the way I did these books, and I wouldn't have done it any other way, but I knew it was going to be hard going into it, is each book I do want to highlight one of the other shades magic. It's still Opal's story. It's still going to be mainly about her. But in this book, it's Leyanna. In the next book, it's going to be Glory. And the final book is going to be Drew. And they can't be together all the time, right? I mean, Leyanna had business with the dragons. Opal had her own story. We are with Opal from beginning to end in the series. So to get caught up with Leyanna when they came back, it does kind of feel like, holy crap, what happened while we were gone? And so in a way, I really like that because that's what Opal was feeling. We're with Opal on this, but because we now care so much about Leyanna, it feels like almost like, what did we miss? Like we missed something, and we did. We missed a lot because we come back and she's transformed and she's confident and she's in love with someone else. And so, that was difficult to do. I knew I was taking a chance with the reader to trust me that Leyanna thought this through, and there wasn't enough time to really delve into it because in reality, the true problems that they were facing were very big and very significant, and they needed all of the attention. It wouldn't have made sense to sit down with Leyanna and have a heart to heart about what's going on. Like,
Right.
So many things going on.
Yeah.
And so instead of even having it be part of like an epilogue, I really wanted to do it justice. So it is the bonus content for this book.
Mhm.
The bonus content in the digital copies of Shades of Fire has over 10,000 words of bonus content.
Wow.
I basically wrote a chapter, a very long chapter from Leyanna's perspective, picking up like
Mhm.
as soon as they leave. So
Oh,
Open Them
okay.
leaves, and it's between her and Adion, what they go through, the rest of her dragon trainings in it, her thoughts about Adion are in it. And then after that, then there's a whole long chapter of Adion's perspective.
Oh.
And it is his perspective that takes us through the cave.
Mhm. Oh, oh,
So it's definitely, if I'm gonna
Yeah.
say bonus content, I just want to make it worth it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's one of those things where I feel like I could have written like 3 books just about Leyanna. I mean,
Mm.
I feel like she has a lot more. I feel like all these characters have so much more they can give.
Mhm.
But when I'm trying to stay true to Opal and her story, I knew it would be a juggling act.
Yeah.
And so I love that we feel so passionately about her choices.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, going forward, she's definitely in the third one too. Um, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite the quite the roller coaster.
Yeah. I love, even you explaining when they were all children and the thing about the bracelets and just to get that perspective to see into her character. I think there's something really beautiful about meeting. The first word that comes up is like difficult. Difficult people or loud people, people who aren't afraid to say things and be loud and put themselves out there. And when you kind of take a pause to see to recognize maybe why they are the way they are, there's something so beautiful about being able to love them and meet them where they're at.
Meet them where
So
they're at.
I Yeah, that's been a big practice of mine. And so I think getting to see that side of her and the time that you took to dedicate that, like you said, it was a thought out decision. She wasn't just being rash. It sucks to hurt people, and I think the vast majority of us say we don't intend to, and yet we
No,
do. Things happen, like, that's just part
no.
of life, unfortunately, and to see again, we still have a million things going on in the background, so it's like it's hard to be like, "Let's sit down and talk this over,
Yeah.
guys," you know? Um,
You need a therapist.
yeah, yeah.
No, I think one of the most beautiful things I read in a review for this book, and I keep thinking about it, is someone said Opal's journey is a lot of things, but above all, it's a journey of empathy.
Mm,
And I just thought, that's it. That's so it, because exactly of what you just said. I
mhm,
mean, all these women are so different. They're all strong in their own ways, but no one's competing.
mhm,
Everybody's trying to meet each
mhm.
other where they're at, and it's a beautiful thing. It's
Yeah.
almost like the most fantastical thing in the book. I mean, you've got
Yeah.
dragons, you've got magic, but like a bunch of people
Yeah.
that just want what's best for each other and try to stay true to
Yeah.
themselves and communicate, like, wow, like that
Mhm.
sounds so great and so magical in its own thing. And I really, really um hope that these bonus chapters, people will be like, oh, now I get it a little bit, if they
Yeah.
couldn't already.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, I mean, all 3 of these women, 4, including Glory, they're all on a personal quest to try to figure out, why me? Why am I in this
Mhm.
situation?
Mhm.
I mean, I'm okay, maybe I'm a little special, but like
Yeah.
maybe not like high shade special. Like,
Yeah.
and so Leyanna has just had such a just sort of not violent, but just a kind of a violent past in the sense that her emotions just cause turbulence everywhere she goes. And so it kind of answered some questions. She's probably always been searching for somebody that fit,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Beautiful.
Thanks
I
for
love
talking about this with
it.
me. I'm having so much fun. Like I kind of like these characters like a lot. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
No, that's the most fun to like, because it's one thing to consume books, and I love it. And like I said, being able to like talk to the author and just go a little deeper, like as we discuss, all the like pings start going off in my brain, and I'm like, yes, actually, and it just forms such a deeper appreciation. Um, when you've taken time to kind of like marinate in it in a sense,
Yes.
rather than I think the level, like I would say, I mean, I'm reading 4 plus books a month to keep up with the pace of this podcast, and so like that level of consumption is rather quick. So it's really nice to be able to actually like sit with it and reflect on it, and like I said, just uncover all of those deeper levels in there, you know. So
I think it's awesome.
so you had me going because right, clean the water, super easy. He did that so fast. He's so good at it. Find the ash stone. They teleported in, got it, left, easy.
Okay, really fast.
Yeah.
You know that's a real thing, right?
No.
So I
Oh, I
did
was
a
gonna ask you about that too, because when we were getting the information, I was like, I wonder if this is real.
I did a lot of research. That
Yeah.
is an actual stone. That's what it's named. It's actually, you can go visit it in Maine.
Yeah.
You know,
That's so
like
funny.
there's an actual museum. It looks like, if you could Google it, it looks like hopefully like how I described it. Like it's crazy. Those were actually its store hours, I think, too.
That's a bit, it was just specific enough, and I completely forgot to go back to it, but I was like, I bet she researched
I
this.
know. I know. I
Yeah.
got really lost when I really got into it. I mean, I got lost. Like sometimes I just really wish certain things were real. So I
Yeah.
make them as real
Yeah.
as they can be.
Yes. It
Sorry,
makes
go ahead. Go
no,
ahead.
you're
I
good.
didn't mean
It
to.
makes me think of, like, Dragon Tales when they get the little, stone that they hold on to, and they
Yes.
sing their song to go to the land of dragons. Anyways, okay, so they clean the water, easy peasy. Portal in, portal out, got the ash stone. They find the dragon. That was a little more difficult. Leyanna fought that battle beautifully, though, and you really had me sitting there being like,
Yay.
this was, I mean, at no point was I genuinely worried, so I was like, "Is this, like, almost like cozy romantasy?" Like, I don't feel that high of stakes. You, ma'am, got me good in the ending there, because then they were like, "Well, actually, to activate this stone, someone has to go," and I was like, "You know what? I feel bad because my first thought was like, I wouldn't be mad if Lennox went. Don't tell that to the fans. I'm so sorry, but he did not deserve that at all."
To
My
add insult to injury, let's just make it a real bad day for him.
I'm so sorry, guys. Don't hate me for that. In my brain, I was just like, I don't know. You don't want to have to choose. And Opal
No.
was right in the same boat, and she's like, I don't want to have to choose. Nell,
Yeah.
Jenny.
I mean, yeah. She just had so like when she lists all the things that she got to do, and
Yeah.
she had lived such a big life, even though she was only like what, almost 17, it just it seemed like this should just go on the list of things she's done. She's wild, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. And I loved interweaving like her prophecy with that
Mhm,
because
mhm.
it was so, did not say like, oh, you're gonna die soon, but it
Yeah.
did kind of say that, like her life would what give um honor to the heavenly realm or something like that in
Mhm.
death. And I really, really think in my heart of hearts, so I can sleep at night, that she really, really did want to be that sacrifice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and obviously this choice is what propels the next book forward.
Mhm.
Opal is she broken. She is broken.
I can imagine.
Yeah. And I kind of worried when I wrote it. I'm like, will people care enough about Nell? She's only there for like 300 pages, not even. But I think we do. And so it makes sense to me if you're not over it,
Mhm.
Opal would not be over it either. And so we
Mhm.
get to kind of experience that morning together. So
Mhm.
I'm I'm excited. Not excited. I am kind of excited for that.
I see. No, I know what you mean, and I can appreciate that too, of not just being something like, okay, time to move on, like next book, next adventure type
Right.
thing.
No.
Um,
Well, because it's interesting when the piece of her soul that broke off with Edmund and the piece of her soul that she broke off with Ferris, in a way those were her choices. Even though like the
mhm,
factors sort of dictated the choices. I mean, her back was up against the wall there too, but it wasn't life or death like outright like this.
mhm,
Um and so I think that when she, chose to be with Ferris and chose to be with Edmund, I don't think that the wounds on her soul probably felt the same because there was so much love there. And
yeah.
there was so much. This is just regret, sadness, pain, like
Mhm,
shame. I mean, hate, everything. Like it's just all bad, bad feelings that are amplified because of this piece of her soul now that's missing. And so,
mhm.
yeah.
And I think even the way that it goes down, where Nell essentially charges at her to almost like force her hand, I think that speaks to Nell's character as well. And it not that I liked that it had to go down, but I do like the way that it went down, because I think the other kind of version in my head is like where, it's like, oh, just do it, and oh, I'm sorry, and then it gets
Yeah.
done. But it's the way that Nell really took control of the situation essentially, and like she wasn't taking no for an answer, and the way, like I said, just the way that it went down, it very
Well,
Nell, very sad.
right. And also in that other version, I don't think Opal does it. I
Right,
I
yeah,
don't think she would do it. I don't even if she had everyone telling her to do it,
right.
her moral compass, even in the face of like, oh my gosh, it's either me and my mates or it's her.
Mhm,
Like I don't think she does it.
mhm.
But it was very sad.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Yes.
Correct.
What's funny is I did not cry when I wrote it,
Yeah.
but I cry every time I read it. And that's
Oh.
really it's I
Mhm.
know it's coming. I wrote it. I know and I tear up a little bit because I feel bad every time. I feel
I
bad.
feel I feel like that's so fitting of the situation though too. Like while it's happening, it's happening. Like it's
That's
not,
true.
and then afterwards is when Opal's like, "Oh my gosh," you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aw. Well,
I know.
it luckily we kind of end on somewhat of a higher note where we celebrate Opal's birthday, and the boys, the team has worked together to get the ink spires in there, and Ferris gets his mark so he's not left out of the
Yes.
gang. And so I
They're being so goofy and so weird.
yeah, and
Show them.
what a nice way to end it after everything we have just been through, you know?
Well, you know that I can't do that. Like I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do it. You should see what happens in the third book. I
Oh, no.
mean, seriously. It's like I can't make myself a cliffhanger I cannot write. I will read
Yeah,
them all day long, but I just
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
And so I feel like I love to feel big feelings when I read. I love it.
Mhm.
But nothing, I want to feel like I want to reach for the next book, not out of, oh my God, I need healing, to like, I just want to know what happens next,
Yeah, yeah. Right,
So
right.
I didn't want to leave us all sad and
Yeah,
dreading the next book.
yeah.
So I'm glad
No,
you liked that epilogue because
absolutely.
Yeah. Plus they needed a moment, I felt like, too, after all that.
Yeah, yeah. It's always nice to kind of come back to that, to just take a breather,
Yes.
essentially. No, I very much appreciate that. But um, yeah, is there anything in the book that we haven't discussed that you want to make sure we touch on?
No, I'm glad that we discussed some of the more realistic aspects of it, because I keep forgetting that there is so much research that goes into these books.
Mm.
I think that's one of the cool things, that's because it's a portal fantasy,
Mhm.
you're not probably having to, I mean, I know there can be a lot of research when you're dealing with fantastical elements, but you can also just make, imagine
Yeah.
things make stuff up all the time. Certain things obviously have to be accurate, but there's a lot of
Yeah.
wiggle room. And so, yeah, I'm just glad we did touch on that, because that would be the one thing I still laugh, because when they go to the Jefferson Market Library in the first book, I mean, that's like
Mhm.
a real place.
Mhm.
And I remember someone sending me like an AI generated image that they had created,
Yeah.
because they were like, look at this beautiful place. Like, isn't it beautiful? Like with your descriptions. And I'm like, look at this place. I sent them the actual photo. I'm like, it's a real place. You can go visit.
Surprise.
And so but I love that. I love that it feels fantastical, but there
Yeah.
is so much, it makes it feel like it could be real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's nice when you put those elements together too, where they are jumping from realm to realm. So, it creates a contrast,
Yeah.
when you're all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, no, we're back. We're here.
Yeah.
But
It's a big
um
world.
that it is. So you can go visit. You're gonna have to do like a little tour visiting all the places that you write
Yes.
about. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I cannot wait. But yeah, I'm so looking forward to the launch on June 10th. And book three, well, book three, I just found out what the release date is. So it is
Ooh.
September 23rd. So we're getting
Nice.
a lot of shades this year.
Yeah. Let me write
Yep.
that one down. Is there anything you can tell us about book three? Anything you can hint?
Absolutely.
She said,
So
yeah.
yeah, I'm like, I'm so excited for book two's launch, but I just within the last week or so turned in book three to the editor. So I'm like, I'm so into book three right now, like my mind. So it is still obviously Opal's story,
Mhm.
and her and Edmund and Ferris. And it is very much Glory's turn to sort of, we have a
Mm.
little bit more time with her, which I love, because it feels almost like coming back to Glory, because we did spend some time with her in book one.
Yeah.
And so it's fun to watch her grow. She gets rid of her parents in this book, which I just think is funny. Not like kill them.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but she like ditches her. But it's really like, like I said, I just create scenarios that I think are funny. But
Yeah.
she kind of gets them sort of away, and so she really has a chance to be her. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you kind of see what she does with that. There's some new characters in it. Um, the one with the really long name, and who is an orange shade. So there's going to be some orange shade magic, which we have not seen. We've just
Okay.
heard everybody make fun of it. So that'll
Gotcha.
be fun. And then there's, I think I've already told some of the arc readers and stuff about this, but there's Dellen, who is a very handsome purple shade that shows up to court.
Oh.
And it's interesting to watch him and Glory's dynamics. But there's issues with Jovi's Isle and the creatures on that on that island. So it's not just about them. That's
Mhm.
the focus.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of mystery in this book, like trying to figure out why things are happening, maybe almost like a little creepy kind of things. So
Ooh,
yeah, there's
okay. Okay.
a little bit of a vibe. But above all, we are trying to get Opal through it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is the she is really, really, her soul's all messed up.
Yeah.
So, so there you go. It's going to be another crazy. This is also longer. All the books, the 2 books have been like 300 pages,
Mhm.
under 300 pages. This one, I don't know how long it'll be, but it's like 20% longer or something like that.
Oh,
So
okay. All
yeah,
right.
yep.
Exciting. I love that though. Because I fly through them.
I know. I'm so excited, you guys.
Oh, oh no, I'm excited as well. Absolutely, we'll continue. We have to have you back on so we can discuss
Yay!
the new adventures and everything. So that is another exciting chapter. But for everyone watching, granted, this is book 2, so you should already know how to find her. But if you could remind them where are the best places to find you, get in contact with you.
I'm most active on Instagram. I'm like pointing. I don't know. Does
Yeah,
that even
like
work?
that. Yeah. Oh,
Right there.
that way.
No.
There we go.
There you go.
Inverted.
So author.Jenny Grimes is on Instagram. I have TikTok too, which is just author Jenny Grimes. And then I have a website too. So, and
Perfect.
obviously the books are on Amazon. So
Yeah, yeah,
from there as well.
definitely check them out. The next one's coming out, so we get all of them out of the way. Oh, this has been delightful. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much
much.
for chatting with me. My day always like I love sometimes because I'm such a morning person, sometimes when they're in the afternoon, I'm like, oh, like a yes. And then I leave it being like, yes, this was so good. My heart is happy.
It's a little uptick in the day.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you again for
Thank
chatting.
you.
And if you've made it to this point in the episode, thank you so much for watching. I'd be incredibly grateful if you showed some support either by following or subscribing, depending on what platform you're watching on, and leaving a comment. You can always follow me on Instagram at Busy Reading Romantasy or on TikTok at busy period reading period romantasy to see what I'm up to. You can also email me at busyreadingromantasy@gmail.com to tell me your thoughts, dreams, secrets, or if you just have any book and author suggestions you'd love me to cover. Grab yourself a good book, get cozy. I'll see you next Wednesday for a new episode.